Guys, today I want to talk to you about making and using carpentry patterns and templates. So when you make or use a template, it doesn't matter whether you're doing woodworking, construction, or remodeling, or fitting cabinets. Your projects are going to be more efficient, repeatable, and accurate. Templates are usually low cost to build, and they're accurate to transfer spatial measurements to any sheet material or flat surfaces. Once made, a template can be used over and over again. It saves you time on future installations, especially if it's something you do a lot. They eliminate the need to use your tape measure. They reduce the chance of measuring mistakes, compounding errors, and miscuts. This is especially helpful when you're working with expensive hardwoods, materials, cabinetry, stuff like that. Some of the more common template applications, if you're thinking, what would I use a template for? Well, maybe you're fitting something to an irregular surface. You're trying to get an exact fit into a space. Granite countertops, mortising with routers, building and fitting cabinets, cabinet hardware. You can make like little templates for the hardware, and fitting complicated drywall, door blanks, or trim. Basically anything whenever you do a project that has the potential to be built again, or if the design is somewhat difficult and complex and you want it to fit right. You can make them with all kinds of materials. I mostly use 1/4-inch Luan or heavy plywood. I prefer Luan because it's cheap and easy to work with. If your template is going to be used over and over again though, and you're a woodworker, you might want to consider Baltic Birch plywood. Baltic Birch is durable, has very little voids, and woodworkers will often use Baltic Birch for repeated use because of flush trim pattern bits that it doesn't leave tracks, especially along the template edges when you're pressing with a pilot bearing. Template assembly is accomplished simply with either hot glue or pneumatic staple or even small screws. I've done it with all of the three. As far as making a template, I typically rip 3-inch rips out of my 1/4-inch Luan plywood. I'll take those rips to my project. I'll put them up against the surfaces that I want to template. Basically, you want to create a perimeter around the area that you're trying to template. You want to try to design your area with the template, and you're checking for parallel measurements on all sides. If you're dealing with irregular surfaces, then you're going to want to scribe your template tight to your surfaces. And basically, simply, you guys know how to scribe, but if you don't, basically scribing, you find the largest gap in your wall, you set your scribe to that gap, and then you trace that along your template. Once you do that, you cut your template piece and push it in. If you've got a big scribe, you might even want to go bigger than 3 inches for your template. You can use a hand plane or a jigsaw to cut the scribe line. And when you're making your template, when you're cutting it to size and fitting it and stuff, I just use a utility knife and score it and snap it off. Once I'm ready to go and put it together, I just use my hot glue or my staples to do that. If you're fitting it to an existing space tight, one thing you might want to recognize or be aware of is you might want to leave yourself a little bit of room to get your part in. Countertop fabricators will typically leave a 1/4-inch gap on all sides, but it is really important to record the exact existing irregularities and measurements because you want it to be tight. Cross braces throughout your template help to keep it rigid, and sometimes I even do corner bracing to keep the frame from shifting, getting knocked out of square, or especially during transport. I look at cross bracing and bracing as cheap insurance and time well spent to ensure that your template stays accurate. I use a Sharpie to make notations directly on my template. Some guys call these witness marks. They just help me create a better understanding of the field conditions that I'm dealing with, also as a redundancy check on my template. So you might say, well, what kind of markings? Left, right, top, rear, back, front. I might do a center marking. I might do markings for outlets or cutouts, panel thicknesses, details, finishes, overhang information such as exposed edges, things like that. Once the template is complete, I then take it to my shop and I basically use that exact template to create and duplicate my project. Look guys, template's going to save you considerable layout time and produce consistent, accurate results. Good luck guys, and make something that you're proud of.